Welcome back, fight fans, to the Shout Out Fight Podcast. How are you today? It is Tuesday, December 5th or 6th or 7th, something like that, in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And this is our second podcast of the week. Today we have Mr. Jason Jillain, the referee in the 155-pound Muay Thai World Cup Road to One finals, which ended in a little bit of controversy. And so Jason's here to explain his position as the referee and why he stopped the fight. 2 days ago, we had Daniel Kechego, and he was on and explaining his position. Now, obviously, he was the runner-up. Now, before we move on, if you could do me a quick favor and it takes no time at all. It's maybe 30 seconds of your time. Costs you zero, but really helps me. If you could like the Shadow Fight Podcast on all your fun social medias, and if you wanted to take it one step further and share it with a friend, family member, or foe, and again, who knows, share with a foe, they become friends, maybe family, who knows. But it all starts with sharing the Shadow Fight Podcast. Please make sure you also check out the website, www.shoutoutpodcast.com. Check out some shirts, merchandise, all that good stuff. And thanks to Rob at Turkey and Pistols for the man steering the ship on the website there. Always appreciate that fella. Check him out in Bragg Creek, Turkey and Pistols. Cool shop. Lots of cool stuff. I got nothing but love for that fella. And, of course, only the real ones subscribe. How do I know? Because my man B. Kong said it. In the words of my man B. Kong, only the real ones subscribe. So make sure you subscribe to the Shout Out Fight Podcast. 5 stars, guys. This is the second podcast of the week. Coming off, interesting ending to the Muay Thai World Cup, the very final fight of the night. I was able to get both men in here, at least the runner-up as well as the man who made the decision, to explain their positions. And by the way, I'm privileged to make that happen. And I don't mean of course, for me. I mean, I want good things for me in the podcast for my own benefit, but I'm privileged that people feel that they can do this on here. We're men, we're grown men, we're mature, we can, you know what I mean? And I'm privileged and grateful that my platform can be the one for something like this to go out to the masses to understand what happened that night, because we all have questions, let's be real, okay? Daniel included, as he explains in the podcast. If I haven't explained it already, make sure you check that out on Spotify. It was hard to get on YouTube. But this one, Jason Jillain today, so today's podcast with Jason Jillain will be on YouTube, just because it's a little easier off my phone to make that happen. So I'll try to get it on YouTube, the Daniel Kechego podcast. But in the meantime, still looks really good on Spotify, so make sure you check it out there. 5 stars, right? 5 stars, second podcast of the week. 5 stars, always 5 stars. This is a 5-star podcast, if I didn't just explain that. I'm not going to lie, guys. If I've said things twice, this has got to be my 6th take doing this intro, so I forget what I said and didn't say. So I apologize. So if I haven't said it already, this is a 5-star podcast, not a 4-star, not a 3-star. That means you're having a bad day. Just don't bother. 5 stars, second podcast of the week. We're slaying around here, so make sure you hit me with the 5 stars. I'd appreciate that. Quick shout out. I want to give a shout out to Vinny. Mr. Vinny Shorman, again, just I appreciate you checking up on me, getting over the Hitman flu. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Jason, for coming in today, and I think it takes a set of balls, man, to come in here and say, hey, man, like, I want to come in here and explain my position and where I stand on it. And I do ask him, now that you've seen the fight, and you could run it back, what would you do? And he doesn't give his answer. Yeah, shout out to Daniel as well for doing it this week. All the positive comments, guys. I appreciate, just from the fight card to the comments online. I appreciate all the positive comments, the positive feedback, and all that good stuff. I love the fight community around here, and I'm very honored and grateful to be part of it. So thank you guys very much. Rob, of course, James. I don't know if you want me to use your last name, but again, thanks for the phone call. Taylor from MMAjournal.com. Couple back and forth with him. I always appreciate talking to him, and he helped me out a lot this week. I appreciate that, as well as Han from Combat Fighting Channel. I like that we kind of got a little mix of us kind of doing a little something. So I really appreciate that, guys. Thanks for all your help. All right, some fight friends. Stephanie Quigg, fighter as well, of course, but Always enjoy talking to her. Big fan of her as a fighter as well. Leapfrog Fight TV. Check them out. Muay Thai Tips. Mr. Tim Lowe. Rudy. Yeah. It's pretty much that, guys. I'm kind of raw dogging this one today. I'm a little bit busy this afternoon, and I've done like 6 takes, and I didn't like any of them, so I apologize if this one's a bit choppy. All right, guys. Last, not least, before we're out of here, onto the podcast. Hey, I want to do after the 22nd fight card, the one championship fight card. I think I want to do like a fan favorite or fan voted fight of the year, KO of the year, and female/male fighter of the year. So I don't want them to be polls. And I'll keep harassing you guys. What I'd really like is to have them DM to me, and we'll try to do as many. If we get 10 names, we'll do a top 10. If it's 4 names, we'll do a top 4. But let's do a fan voted. But it's got to be through DM. Just shoot it to me. I'll keep track of everything, and then we'll kind of do a year-end podcast. So I'll keep on you guys. All right, guys. For my 6th take today, I'm gonna call it there, guys. Mr. Jason Jillain, the referee of that 155-pound Muay Thai World Cup Road to 1 finals, explains his position. We heard Daniel's position. Now we're going to hear Jason's position. I gave my position, what I thought was going to happen, what I saw. I explained it to Daniel. I explained it to Jason. I want to be completely honest with these guys, and I just ask that they do the same. And I appreciate these guys handling this like men. I didn't expect them not to. I just didn't know. This is a bit new for me, too. So it was a bit new territory. And like I said, I'm privileged that the Shadow Podcast can be the one to explain, get to the bottom of how the questions people have regarding how that fight ended. All right, guys. Mr. Jason Jillain, let's get to it. All right. Welcome back, fight fans, to the Shadow Fight Podcast. My guest today, Mr. Jason Jillain. Now, Jason, you were the referee of the Daniel Kechego Cody Jerome fight on the weekend. And first of all, if I'm being honest, mad respect for doing this, man. Like, I think it's easy to just not address it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm privileged that you're comfortable to do this on this platform, because the bottom line is, as I said, I'm only trying to help the community, and I think this is a bit of a different podcast for me, but at least a small portion, and I find it cool. I find it an honor, and just where we are in life that we can do something like this. So before we get into it, though, sir, and we can address that first. And you have a lot of history, a lot of fight knowledge. I mean, you've been around the world, and I definitely want to talk about that. But before we get there, can you tell us, I guess, some of your Muay Thai history, your credentials as a fighter, as a coach, as a martial artist, as well as the refereeing? I mean, I want people to know, for people that don't know, that you are a long-time Muay Thai man, and you're not new to this. So would you mind sort of breaking down those credentials before we get into the fight?
Sure, absolutely.
I appreciate that, man.
And thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. And so basically, pretty typical young kid getting into martial arts. Obviously, I was bullied a lot when I was young. My mom got me into Taekwondo when it first started.
In Calgary?
No, in Crow's Nest Pass.
Okay.
So I was born in the Crow's Nest Pass, born in Prince Creek, Alberta, and lived in Bellevue there for
beautiful area.
Yeah, and we had a Taekwondo club that the teacher drove all the way from Fernie to teach us a couple times a week. So that was how I got my start. So I was kind of an angry kid, and my mom saw, she says, we got to channel your energy somehow. So she put me into Taekwondo, and that's kind of how I started. And then, of course, I was obsessed with martial arts and ninja movies, right?
Sure.
Shokasugi was like my hero.
Who?
Shokasugi.
What's that?
I'm going to throw on, here's Revenge of the Ninja. So look that one up.
Okay, Revenge of the Ninja.
He was like probably one of the real ninja movie actors.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So, but Revenge of the Ninja was like my favorite movie of all time back in the 80s, right? So,
okay.
So yeah, so look that one up. It's got a pretty amazing fight sequences in it. Right?
I got some time on my hands, so I'll be watching.
There you go. So then I moved to Calgary in 1988.
Okay.
Continued on with Taekwondo. Got my black belt there, And then I just kind of felt I was coming to the end. I wanted to compete more, and I just wasn't getting the tournaments that I wanted. And quite honestly, I didn't do very well in the Taekwondo tournaments. And then
why is that?
I don't really know why. I just I wasn't a super fast Taekwondo fighter. Like some of those guys were pretty slick and
sure,
really
legs,
fast, right?
flexibility.
Yeah, so I just couldn't seem to keep up with those guys. And I remember actually seeing Lyle Cheney in a tournament once.
Shout out to Lyle Cheney.
Scared the crap out of me. That guy scared the crap out of me.
He still does for me.
Yeah, and just you come up, just yelling. You're like, holy crap, I don't want to fight that guy. And I remember I fought this guy in a tournament, and then he beat me, and then he fought Lyle, and then Lyle knocked him out. I'm like, that could have been me. So kudos to that guy for stepping in.
No joke, eh?
Right? But yeah, and then I met my best friend Kevin McEachran.
Shout out to Kevin. Wow, you guys been buddies that long?
We've been over 30 years.
Wow.
Known each other, right?
Cool.
So we actually met at a restaurant working together as busboys.
Oh, no way.
That's how we met. And then he was, back then, he was actually training under Albert Hahn, doing Cook Soul One, right? And then, so I remember this, we're out on my front lawn and we're sparring. I'm doing Taekwondo, he's doing Cook Soul One. And I kind of kicked his butt, and he'll admit that. But then he secretly started doing Muay Thai and didn't tell me. So one day we're at another buddy's house, and we kind of just started shadowboxing, and he punched me in the nose and gave me a bloody nose. And I was like, holy crap. That
Kevin, rude, bro.
Yeah,
Who
he
does
hit me.
that?
I'm like, what the hell? He's like, then he told me, yeah, I'm doing Muay Thai now. I'm like, okay. So I'll come check it out. So, and then, so he actually had his first fight was the first night I came and actually saw Muay Thai.
Okay.
So that's the first time I saw Roy Lilly fight.
Okay. Shout out to Roy Lilly.
I saw him fight Changnam Pointry from Thailand.
Okay.
And I'm like, this stuff is freaking amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
where was that?
That was at like some community hall, Thorncliffe Community Center.
Okay.
I think it was, right? So I'm like,
wow.
And yeah, and then that's when I kind of saw Chad Sawyer, Yves Philidor, Kerry Dell, Nedge Trejic.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I remember
all those
that.
guys fight. I'm like, holy crap, these guys are awesome. And funny story about Chad. He'll kind of get a kick out of this. Me and him went to Scarlet. We graduated same year. I didn't know who he was, right?
Okay.
And Chad back then, he was kind of a goofy kind of guy. That's just his personality. And I remember seeing him, and I said, who's that goofy guy? And someone said, don't mess with that dude. I'm like, why? He's like, well, he's some kind of world champion kickboxer. I'm like, yeah, whatever, okay. I'm a Taekwondo, I'm a black belt.
I got black belt, bro.
No problem, right? And then when I walked into Mike Miles for the first time, Chad Sawyer was hitting pads with Mike Miles. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't say anything to that guy because I would have been in trouble, right? So, yeah. So, nice. But anyhow, I saw the
shout out to Chad too.
Yeah. I saw the fight with Roy Lilly, and I thought, man, this is incredible, and I would really love to train with that guy. And so I kind of pondered like leaving Taekwondo at that point, and then I saw his second fight where he fought this champion from Germany, and just destroyed that guy too. And that was the night he died.
Okay.
And so I was really torn, even though I hadn't met the guy, but I only saw him fight twice, and I was super torn that I wasn't going to be able to train with him.
And just watching him fight created that kind of inspiration.
Yeah, and I thought
it's amazing.
And I thought he'd be a perfect guy because we were the same weight, same height, relatively the same age, and I thought he'd be like amazing. I could learn so much from this guy. And so I was like, I was really upset that I was never going to have the opportunity to train with him. And I actually went to his funeral, and that was the first time I ever saw Mike Miles. And I even put out my condolences to him. I'm so sorry for your loss. I know you guys have a lot of history as a student teacher. I can't imagine the loss of that, right? So
irreplaceable.
Yeah, so that was back so I started training in Muay Thai in 1993. So just to give everyone out
30
there
years.
how old I am. That's where I started. I can't even remember how old I was when I started. I'm 24, I think, if I remember correctly, somewhere around that age. But I'm 52 now.
Jeez, man.
So subtract 30 years from that.
Well, there you go.
So 22, I guess you could say.
So 3 decades. So you've been doing it a year or two.
Yeah. So a few, right? So it's kind of funny when I have people come up to me and they're like, yeah, you reffed me when I was 10 years old. I'm like, and they're like, they're adults now. I'm like, okay.
Don't say that.
Right? So...
Yeah, no kidding, man. I remember when it must have been 2000. I first signed up at Mike Miles, and you were teaching, and it was a Sunday class. And you were always kind of quiet and humble and kind of do your thing, like I kind of think of you now, And I was the only one there, man. I was the only student. You went, well, what do you want to do? And of course, I was a long-time karate man. I'm like, well, bro, we got to spar. And man, I left home with a bad headache. And I remember after it was maybe 2 rounds that you lit me up. And I remember being like, yeah, that's good, man. Thanks. And you were like, yeah, no, class isn't over for half an hour. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And that was a good reminder. Like, be careful just how excited you are to ask for sparring. That was a good learning lesson for me, man, to be honest. But yeah, that was fun, and that was long. So yeah, about 2000, I think, maybe 2001. But
that was a while ago.
Crazy, man, crazy. Now, how about your fight career? Now, because you were quite competitive. When did you start, fighting and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I had my first. Well, I did Taekwondo tournaments. Never, it's kind of funny. I never won a single tournament in Taekwondo. And then I started training in Muay Thai, and I did back when they had the Battle of the Rocky Mountains and Prairie tournaments. So I did
Rundle College.
Yeah, and this is me and Kevin were living together at the time. We were roomies, right? So he was going to be my corner man, right? So he's like, all right. So he really took me under his wing to kind of get me ready for that tournament and what to expect. So it was like
good friend.
Crazy. He woke me up at 6 a.m. with a protein shake and he's like, get ready to go, man.
Oh boy,
go, right? So yeah, he was. So
ultimate hype man, that fella, hey?
So it was about a year into training that I decided I wanted to fight. And I hadn't started training with the fighters at Mike Miles yet. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to start doing the tournaments.
So then you're about what, like 24 or 5?
23.
Okay.
Yeah, about 23, I guess, yeah. And so, so that was my first tournament ever doing, and it was a big tournament. I remember there being 200 fighters there.
Okay.
Like, holy crap. So and ended up taking home 3 trophies that day. And I actually fought Trevor Smandich.
Hey, yo, shout out to Trevor.
Yeah, me and him fought back then, and I think he was 17, 16 back then.
So now he looks like he's 12, by the way, still.
Right, still looks the same.
Yeah.
Anyhow. But yeah, so me and him fought, and I remember him giving me one of the worst leg kicks I've ever felt in my life. I remember he hit me once, and I'm like, that kind of hurt a little bit. And all of a sudden, wham, he hits me again, exact same spot, and frick, that hurt, right? So I still won, though. I still won that fight. So, but yeah. So that was in, it had to have been 92. 92. No, it would have been in 94. Because
Okay.
my first fight was in 95. I had my very first fight.
Okay.
Right. So I did a couple tournaments, and then I approached Mike Miles and said, I want to start fighting. And he says, are you serious? I'm like, yes, I'm serious. Then come start training. So walking into the gym that first day to train with those guys, I was kind of scared shitless. I didn't know if they were going to test me or what, but they took me under their wing. They were patient with me. I never hit pads like the way these guys hit pads.
Right.
So it was just, again, it's that learning curve, right?
Yep.
Learning how to, but when sparring came, that was a different story.
Yep.
I learned quickly where I was in the pecking order. Right. So, I learned so much from those guys. And everyone had a different style. Everyone had different strengths. I used to hate sparring with Chad because that guy was so slick in every sense of the word, and lefty to boot.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's like, man, every time we were sparring, man, I hate sparring that guy. One day. So.
Yeah. How many fights did you have?
I had 43 fights total. 43 fights, 33 wins, 9 losses, 1 draw.
Beauty. Yeah, feel free, man. Take a sip. Sorry there.
Yeah, and then Thailand, went there 4 times.
Okay, cool.
Fought in the World Infamous 4 times.
Nice.
Won bronze twice.
Nice.
There. And then had...
what years were those? What was that?
Oh, dude, I can't remember. In the 90s.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so I think I went and then took a break for a while from Muay Thai, and then I came back, and literally, I think it was 2 months after I came back, they were going to Thailand for the tournament. So then I just said to Mike, can I go? Do you have room? He said, yeah. So I went and got a bronze that year.
Nice.
So
there you go.
Yeah, and then a couple titles. So I won.
Sorry, just brings a touch closer.
Sure, no problem.
No,
yeah. So my first title, I fought the guy. I fought for, it was Canadian title. I fought Dave Zuniga.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Dave, man.
For Canadian Muay Thai amateur welterweight.
Yeah.
Title. So I won that one.
Nice.
And then I fought a guy from Switzerland, won a Pro-Am title.
Oh yeah.
And then that was when we were on TSN for the first time.
Yeah, I recall that.
It was 2000, I think.
Yep, I was there.
Yeah. And then fought James Cook in Atlanta, Georgia for my first North American pro title.
Nice.
And then my last fight, my retirement fight, was for the WMC Pro Intercontinental Muay Thai
right
title. And I fought a guy named Andy Keogh from Australia for that one.
Right, that's right.
And did it with a spinning back kick knockout.
Beauty, that's right, man. That's right.
Crown of my career, so it was a good way to end it.
And in my opinion, back in those, I don't know if the WMC belts look the same, but those to me were like the prettiest looking belts.
They were nice.
Sharp.
It was a nice looking belt, and I was like, man, it was a good way to have.
Yeah, those were slick. And that was kind of too like the at least in my time too, like the WMC was big back then. You know, kind of like what it feels like.
It was the federation in Thailand. If you wanted to be kind of recognized by Thailand,
right,
that was
right.
kind of like, so I felt really honored to have that belt in my my tool.
What brought you to decide that was going to be your last fight? Like, did you know beforehand?
Yeah, I had planned that was going to be my last fight. At the time, I was married to a different lady, and we were planning on having children.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I can't, and I should have just, kept training. I could have kept training because I've seen guys, do it all the time. They have kids, they still keep fighting, still keep training, still keep competing, right? So, but I felt no, I'm going to focus 100% on raising a family and do that, and then that just never worked out.
Yep.
And so I just took a few years off, and I just decided no, I ended it the way I wanted to end it. So I don't feel like I have anything left that I need to accomplish. Like, I know it would have been nice to have a world title. Sure. I never had that, but Intercontinental's pretty good, nothing to slouch at. And, and
on a highlight KO too.
Yeah, and in reality, it's like, and someone always said, what if you come back and you get knocked out? I was like, yeah, there's always that chance, right? So
sure.
it's like,
it's not your choice.
No, it's not. So I didn't want to be remembered as that, come back and got hurt or got stopped really bad or whatever. So I thought, no, I'm good. Right?
Yeah.
So I was just going to focus on teaching and training and just, and helping other people become better at the sport, and hopefully coaching and stuff like that. So I never really saw reffing in the future there. But then I just realized maybe coaching's not quite what I want to do, but I still want to be heavily involved in the sport. And officiating and reffing was kind of how I got my start. So I started reffing some smokers, and I thought, I kind of like this. And
when was that? Ish.
Honestly, I can't remember. I think I would say at least a decade, 15 years ago. I think I reffed a smoker for Mike Miles, and then I was always the ref. He asked, can you ref for the smoker? I'm like, yeah, sure. Then I started doing, lots of tournaments and stuff like that, and then started doing the actual fight cards, right? So,
yep, that's right.
So it was just kind of how it evolved into there.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how about today? Like you spent a good long stint there in Thailand training and all that good stuff. So have you so sort of once you started refereeing and all that kind of stuff, like did you keep training? Still obviously not fighting, but are you taking a coaching role now? Like is that? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm with Elite now, and I'm
shout out to Elite.
Yeah, and we're training like a lot of the fighters, So like Francois is one man; he can't hold for everyone all the time, right? So we kind of show up and help him out with the holding for fighters, me and Kevin, and this gives the fighters a different feel too for different pad holders as well. Yeah. So and I think both Kevin and I have quite a bit of knowledge to pass on as well, right? So I think it's just I think the more minds you have that can offer something that works for them, of course, I think you're just gonna do nothing but good for any
only strengthen the camp itself, right?
So,
of course,
and I think that's my goal as a teacher and trainer there. I just want to help the students in any way they can and develop their skills and develop their technique as good as possible, so that they can move on and apply that to fighting, right? So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So a little more of a coaching role than as of late, maybe. Yeah. Nice. And how you enjoying that? It's
absolutely.
Awesome.
I mean, there's nothing more satisfying for a coach to see, when he teaches a student do something and they do it right, and then they start doing it really well. Right.
Yeah, so, it works.
I mean, that's exactly our role as a coach and as a teacher, right? So, I mean, that's what we want, right? So,
right. Yeah. Where around the planet have you had some fights? Well, like obviously Thailand, right?
Lots in Canada. In Thailand, yeah. We did 4 tournaments there. And then also after the last IFMA tournament, we flew over to Singapore and had a fight card over there. So that's where I fought my first Thai. Okay. That was an opening experience, an eye-opening experience. Like no one realizes how hard the Thais kick. Right. Until you've been kicked by one. And it was like, because I've fought against guys from Russia, Dutch fighters, British, And they all kick hard, but no one kicks as hard as the Thais do.
Right.
And it's a completely different feeling altogether.
Right.
Like that first kick that I got hit with I was like, who brought the bat into the ring? I was like, I never felt anything like that. Like my whole arm vibrated.
Yeah.
Felt like electricity like shot through my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then fought in Budapest.
Nice.
To there. That was where I learned the importance of checking leg kicks, because the guy that I fought was way beyond my ability.
Oh yeah, okay.
And because that was my 6th fight, and I think this guy had been fighting for like 6 years.
Okay.
Right. And so he schooled me. Like I got schooled, and he kicked my leg so many times that halfway through the second round I couldn't walk.
Sure.
So that was the end of that fight.
Yeah.
So
Block
I
those
learned really
kicks.
fast how to check leg kicks.
That's it.
The importance of it. Right?
Yeah.
So
The fast and the hard way.
yeah. And then other than that, Philippines. Did one tournament in the Philippines. That's where I fought Chris Van Roy.
Yep.
Kid from Holland.
Yep.
So we had a fight there. I won. His coach protested, and they overturned it. So of course, then Mike Miles brought him back for a rematch.
Yep.
And then I just could not get my head together on that one. So
Yeah. I remember that fight. Yeah.
I was mentally out of it for that fight. I tried so hard to do anything, nothing worked. Right. So
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where you get so psyched out that nothing works properly. Right. So
Yeah.
that's the mental fight game for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't, unfortunately, yeah. And the more fights you have, the more that becomes a possibility, right?
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
it just can't always be an A+ game. Where was your favorite place to fight besides Canada? How about in Canada and out of Canada?
Out of Canada, I love Thailand. Thailand was awesome just because the people are so passionate about the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So even though you're amateurs there, they're there.
Right.
And it was quite amazing, like how the Thai people, they'll come up to you and they'll start poking your body. Like they're feeling your body, but really they're which parts of your body are strong, which parts of your body are weak.
Weird.
So because they're going to bet on you, even though you're
That's
amateurs,
right,
they still bet, right? So they're like poking your abs and see if you got a strong core. They're grabbing your legs, see if your legs are strong and stuff like that. And you're like, this is kind of weird, but they love you anyway, just because you're a Muay Thai fighter. So
Right.
And I remember my very first tournament there, my first fight, I did a spinning back elbow knockout.
Ooh, nice.
And by the time I got back to the hotel, this little Thai guy was on the little walkie-talkie, and he's like, "You Canada, good elbow knockout." I'm like, how did you know that? It's like they're like the mafia over there.
Yeah.
Right. So it was really neat how they were like so into the game, and they didn't care who won as long as the fight was good. Like there was even Thai guys getting knocked out, and they're cheering because the technique was awesome. Right.
Yeah. There you go.
So I would say Thailand would be my favorite place that I've fought. I never got to fight like a real fight though, like in the ring, like in like a stadium or like no gear or anything like that.
Right.
Wish I would have done that. That would have been a really good. But by the time that came around, I was retired and I wasn't going to risk fighting in a foreign country and getting hurt or whatever.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, makes sense.
And then America, I've fought in Georgia. That was a pretty fun experience. The Georgian people are, their accents and stuff like that. So
Right.
I remember we're in the cab ride and we're going to the venue and the guy's talking to us about, what are you guys here for? I was like, here for kickboxing. He's like, kickboxing? So he's like, it's like, what? And then I tell him how we don't wear any equipment. He's like, oh man, that's got hurt. Right. It's just funny the way they talk. Right. And it's like the accent, thick southern accent and stuff. So yeah, but they were very friendly people as well. So
nice.
But yeah.
How in Canada?
Canada?
At home, I'd assume.
Calgary, of course.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's always kind of fun, traveling and being the outsider too.
Yeah.
You kind of like that. I think that's when I fought for my North American title, I fought against James Cook, and you're not the hometown boy, so you're not the favorite.
Right.
So I think that kind of fuels you in a way.
Yeah.
So that kind of changed my mindset on the fight. I'm going to go in. I'm going to be the outsider, and I'm going to take it away from this guy.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember I had Jason Fenton in my corner for that one.
Shout out to Fenton.
And he was really good at keeping me so calm. Like the guy was just so calm in the corner, right? And it was like
nice.
And it was kind of funny because that was the first time I ever fought 3-minute rounds. And we had 2-minute rests.
Yep.
I think they've changed that since then, but we had 2-minute rests, and it's like, man, you could talk about a lot in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, he's even like, so how's this weather we're enjoying here? Like, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Was it noticeable? I'm assuming like the 2-minute difference.
Oh yeah, you're completely ready to go.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Now you just said that they recently changed that.
I don't know if they recently changed, but I don't know. Now they have 1-minute rounds or 1-minute rest. Doesn't matter if you're pro or amateur, right? So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And now, so again, this is where, man, I'm glad you're here, right? So is that a WBC thing? Is that just a common thing? How does that work? Like,
I honestly don't know. All I know is like in the last little while, like I don't think I've ever reffed any fights that have been 2-minute rests in between rounds.
Right.
Right. So that was the one that I fought in. That was the first one ever that I had been in. And I think they did it in Thailand as well, too, 2-minute rounds for the 5-round fights, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But the only one that I ever fought in was that one in Georgia. And then I had a few pro fights after that were still just 1-minute rounds. Like when my last fight was just 1 minute rest in between rounds. So
right. And
I'm not sure who changed that or when about it actually came into effect.
And do you happen to know, is that like a commission thing, or is that like a sanctioning body thing? Like, is that WBC Muay Thai, or is that like Calgary Combative Sports Commission or something like that? Do you happen to know?
I don't really know. Actually.
Yeah. It's a lot of sort of questions like that. But okay. Now, how many fights would you say? Now, so along with refereeing, you also like officiate. Is that like a two-part? You know what I mean? Like, is that like you can't? I don't know.
We can do both. I do mostly reffing.
Okay.
The only time we usually sub in to do like judging is when we don't have enough officials, right? So if we're out of town and we're short on officials, like usually the ref and like we'll usually have 2 refs, and then one ref will go in and one ref will judge if we don't have enough.
I see.
Right? So that's usually the only time that I'll take on a judging role. Gotcha.
And you'd say you've been reffing like that whole time, like you talked about. When you decided to keep a role, like was there a break in there? So you started doing smokers and tournaments, and have you been just like consistently reffing ever since then?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, ever since I started doing the smokers, then I got more involved with Mike Zentek, right? So he said, we could use you as and I kind of just got thrown in there just as because they were in need of another referee, and then even Mike Miles said, Mike Zentek, look, you have an experienced fighter here, he can ref, and that's kind of how I got into it. But
nice.
That's how I ref my first smoker. He says, he's an experienced fighter. He knows what to look for.
Yep.
And that's kind of how I got the feel for it. And like, I kind of like this. And I like, just being right up front. Like, it's the best seat in the house, right?
Sure.
Being the referee is the best seat in the house, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you see things that the crowd doesn't see, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see facial expressions of the fighters. You see their eyes.
Right.
Right. The eyes, you can really tell what's going on behind the eyes in their body, because their eyes will change and the body language will change, right? So
sure.
You can kind of tell what to look for. You can usually tell when a fighter's going down.
Yes.
By
body language.
Their body language, their eyes kind of get like just lost.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say that's when I kind of got the reffing bug, and then
gotcha.
Just basically any chance I had to ref after that, I said, well, I'm available, right? So
nice. And how does somebody? Is there like I did a WBC course or whatever? Like, is that something else that I'm assuming referees and stuff have to do, like courses or how does that work?
You want to learn the rules. Obviously, you want to learn, there's procedures. I know like WACO had a big course on how to referee differently, right? They had a very structured,
it's crazy structured, and I don't mean any disrespect at all, but it's from I'm just not used to it. So when I went out east to commentate, I just found it was so structured that it was breaking up the flow of the fight.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Yeah. I'm not knocking anyone.
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah, as a referee too, it's very different to have to do certain things when you would naturally just go into doing what you naturally do, right?
Right.
So that took that was a bit of a learning curve for that, but I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the sport ultimately as safe as possible, right? So, I mean,
everything's consistent. The refereeing, I totally get it. Totally get it too.
Right. So,
and it's going to get clunky. It's going to be clunky at the beginning until it's not, right? Like everything, right?
Until it's second nature, right? So.
Right. Until like a job, like cooking, like everything else in life.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just trying to think here. I just want to make sure I'm sort of satisfied with, I'm trying to answer all the questions here right up to the fight here. Now I even remember you doing like Journey Fight Series and stuff too. Yeah, man, refereeing and stuff back then. Hey. Now it's my opinion that if you want the best referees, in my opinion, are ex-fighters, right? How come? Everything you just said, body language and eyes and stuff, and the heat of the moment, like even for me, I've had like 10, 12 fights, right? I don't have the experience you have fighting abroad and fighting high level and all that stuff, but so that thing, like you said, the thing that you, the referee, especially a fighter, will see that others don't see. I think that's unbelievably important. The other question I had. So, are you consistently, the referees and judges, consistently having, maybe not judges, like learning a different rule set, like kind of everywhere you go?
Well, it depends on who's sanctioning the fights a lot of the time. Like,
right.
You know, WK has different rules than just slightly different
sure.
rules. And WBC, obviously, because it's pro, they change how you do things a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
But in my opinion, the small things is the problem, right?
Sometimes.
Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
okay. It's what creates a little bit of confusion sometimes.
Without a doubt. Now, so off the top of your head, because you've now did you referee the quarterfinals and semifinals as well? Okay, so
all three events.
Perfect. Now, so on the same night, are you refereeing? You had to have been. I'm so into the fights, man. I can't even remember. You're probably like, of course I was, dummy. But were you refereeing the pro fights and the finals as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the amateurs and the pros. Both, yeah.
So you had to work 3 different rule sets on the 25th.
Yeah.
Like,
the no head contact for the kids.
Right.
And then for the amateurs, it's obviously with the standing 8 counts and stuff like that, it's different than it is with the pros.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that might have been where the confusion came with Daniel's fight, right? Because in WBC, there's no standard standing 8 count.
Okay, what does that mean? So before you, because here's the thing. Before you do, I did mention talking to Daniel that from what I understand, one championship does not have standing 8 count, and I had quite a few people saying, "What are you talking about? Of course, people get 8 counts." And I said, "No, standing 8 count." Yeah. Can you explain to us? Because as a professional, what does that mean exactly?
Okay, so
even for me,
like in the fights before the one fights. So if a guy
professional, we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Even if a guy gets rocked, okay, he gets knocked down, you give him a standing 8 count. Okay, that's a standard standing 8 count.
Right.
In one and in the WBC fights, there's no standard standing. There's a mandatory 8 count. So mandatory 8 count means he's either knocked down to the canvas or he's knocked out and the ropes are hanging and holding him up.
Okay.
Then we step in and give a standing 8 count.
Gotcha.
Then we see if he can continue. If he can, then we allow the fight to continue. If at any time we have to stop the fight to protect the fighter, fight's done. Right.
Okay. And that's professional WBC and one championship?
Yeah.
Okay. So to get an 8 count, you either have to hit the deck or the ropes have to be holding you up.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's got to be really hard, man. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes because as you can see somebody, forget the Daniel fight for a sec. Just pick any fight where someone's just getting lit up, but they're not taking a knee. You can't give them an 8 count. You have to stop the fight if you're going to step in. Am I correct?
Correct. Right. So at
wow,
that point,
I didn't know that.
So so when we're explaining to the fighters, like when we go back into the change room and we're marking the wraps and stuff like that, we usually tell them like, understand what that means because I'm not going to step in to stop you until I have to. Right. If you have to keep fighting until you can't fight anymore to have that standing count in that professional category, right? So it's hard for me as a referee because our sole goal as a ref is to protect the fighter, right?
Yeah. Now here's usually where I get into a little bit of trouble, and I'm not, but like the next question is always why? Why is that the rule? And I know usually when you ask a question like that, it's like, well, why? That doesn't make sense, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm genuinely like why? Why not? Why can't they have an 8 count? Is there a reason behind that? Like, why can't you step in and go, okay, whoa? Like,
no, they never ever explained this is why it's the rule. It's just the rule.
Because in my opinion, if anything, it should be the other way. The amateurs, shouldn't get the 8 count. If you got to step in and stop it, the fight's over.
Yeah.
Where a professional, now again, this is just me. What the hell do I know, right? But it just makes sense to me that you should be able to step in, go, holy cow, this guy's getting blasted, girl, whatever. Give them an 8 count, and who knows, maybe they can come back. They're professionals. 3-minute rounds, blah, 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 blah. But so no, you wouldn't happen to know why? I mean, I'm not sure if you would.
I've questioned it. I says, why is it like that?
Yeah.
But no one's ever been able to give me an actual reason why. I guess you'd have to go back to the person that invented the rules and created that rule that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. And it's like, okay, I remember the WBC fights that I reffed, I was like, okay, that's really strange to me, right? So,
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, if that's the rules, that's the rules, right?
Sure,
So,
sure. Makes sense.
So you just make sure that the fighter's prepared. So look, if you're getting beat on, you better keep fighting, because if I have to stop the fight and you're not down on the canvas, the fight will be over, right? If anything, I said, if you feel you're getting beat on, take a knee.
Yeah.
And then I can give you a standing eight count.
Right. Yeah. Easy to say when you're getting
I know
smashed.
it's
Of course.
you don't have that logical
sure.
thought
However,
when you're getting pounded.
At least now you know, right? But do you find there's a big difference between the two, the WBC professional and the global rules? Is that what it's called? Or like you know what I mean? Like I know they use that terminology on one championship, like the Muay Thai global rule set or whatever.
Excuse me. Yeah. I've never heard that term.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So no. So are the rules the same? The WBC Pro and
there's some slight differences there, I'm sure. Like all I know is like before each event, we're rebriefed on the rules as they are for that particular event that we're doing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if we try to remember every federation for every event, we're gonna just have.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah,
right?
holy cow, right?
So the officials always meet before the fights and just to reiterate the rules.
Gotcha.
The ones we're.
You guys have your rules meetings and so I got you. Okay, everyone's okay. That makes sense. Okay, so the fight itself. So before we actually get into it, too, I want people and you maybe to even know that when we're at these fight cards, and I'm not knocking anybody, but let's say I have a fighter and I see you as the referee, I'm gonna go, okay, we're good. You know what I mean? Like I trust you as an official. You've been nothing but professional as long as I've known you, and I'm unbelievably comfortable when I see you as the referee, whether I'm involved or not. I know it's going to get done right. So can I tell you? I told Daniel this. Can I tell you from my point of view what I saw?
Sure.
Okay. And not no knock on anyone or you or nothing. I just want to be 100% honest. So there's no mixing, and people know. Like I say this on the podcast a lot. I take pride in my honesty here. I'll be brutally honest. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I'm in the chair. I'm doing my thing. I'm commentating, and I see a fairly. I know I'm kind of looking over here. I'm replaying the fight in my mind here. I see a pretty close fight, and then, in typical Cody fashion, how many have you reffed? Quite a few Cody fights.
That was my third fight I've reffed.
Okay, so you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
I feel like Cody's got this weird thing where he just goes,
he just clicks and he goes.
It's too close.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And I saw it happen. And Daniel recognized it too, man. He had some good flurries. It felt like it was a close fight. Maybe even Daniel was winning the first half of the fight, round. Was it in the first round it was stopped?
First round.
Okay. And then it felt like the tide shifted. And Daniel did say, once Cody starts coming forward, man, you just can't get him off you.
Yeah.
And they're in the corner. I see, now again, I'm so adrenalized, I could be wrong, but if I remember this right, I'm watching the fights over here on my right in the corner. I see Daniel possibly get hurt or something stunned him, or at least he shells. And then, man, I'm having a hard time remembering this. There's some kind of flurry. Anyway, Daniel starts folding and covering his face. And now from my point of view, what I see is one legal elbow. And again, I'm only guessing. I don't know the rules. And then 4 direct elbows to the back of the head while Daniel is folded forward. What I was expecting was a standing 8 count, which we just discussed, right? And I didn't know that until after. So I'm happy that you're here to clarify. It's not just for me, for everybody.
Right. Yep.
A very stern warning to Cody with recovery time for Daniel. And again, I have no idea if that's even a thing you're allowed to do. I got no idea. A point taken with the same recovery time or an 8 count. And then the fight was stopped. And now Daniel still says, I don't even know why. I'm sure you gave him a reason, but you're adrenalized. Things are in there. You know what I mean? I'm sure. So that's what I saw from my point of view. I've never taken a ref course. I've never done anything like that. So I'm genuinely coming at this. I generally know the rules. I've been around for a while, right? But I'm genuinely coming at this from, those are just what I saw and how I reacted. But as the professional man in there, I was wondering if you can break that whole fight even down from us right to the end.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, like as you said, like Daniel started off pretty strong. And then it was like halfway through that round, I even got caught with something. I can't, like, again, it's like when you're reffing and fists are flying and stuff. A lot of it is a blur. You remember some pretty key things.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So I'm a curiosity then as a ref, trying to be your eyes. What are you doing in there? Are you kind of like, are you sort of using your peripheral, or are you specifically scanning people? Or I'm just curious.
I always scan both fighters, so I'll stand back to see both fighters, and then if I feel like one of the fighters is maybe getting hurt a little bit, I'll kind of shift my focus from both of them to mainly the one fighter that I'm going to be more concerned about.
Okay. So in this case, you probably...
So I saw some concern in Daniel's eyes when they started working into that corner. And then whatever exchange, can't remember how many elbows were thrown. I was a little bit behind Cody as well. But I remember seeing Daniel like turtle shell a little bit, and he turned away from Cody.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as Cody started raining the elbows down, I saw one, and then I saw one hit the back of the head. And that's when I decided, okay, I can't let him keep elbowing or someone's going to get hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So at that point, I felt Daniel was in trouble, and that's when I stepped in and stopped it, right? So I know he was very shocked. He looked at me like, what are you doing? Why don't I get a standing 8 count? And I tried to explain to him,
there isn't any.
If I have to step in to protect you as a fighter, I have to call the fight.
Yeah.
That's just the rules, from my understanding. That's what I have to do.
Sure.
Right? So it is what it is, right? I mean, as referees, we have to think in milliseconds.
That's
right?
it. Yep.
And it's like, it could be one blow too many, and then you're quadriplegic.
That's right.
There was a boxer I remember seeing a video of his. He got punched just in the back of the head. I can't remember what his name is, but now he's an invalid. And I always said, I'm never going to be the ref that allows that to happen to a fighter, right? So, I mean,
thank goodness.
I mean, you got to remember the referee has so many jobs, and the fighters, they got one job: fight.
That's it.
And try to win.
That's right.
It's me to I got to make sure the rules are being followed. I got to make sure, that the fighters are safe, and it's. If I step in, and a lot of people aren't going to like if I call a fight quick, because the majority of the crowd wants to see a good fight.
Yep.
And I as a ref want to see a good fight.
Right.
Like seeing some of those fights right in front of me, you're like, holy crap, these are some amazing fights to be a ref part of, right? That Wasek fight, like holy crap, what a fight that was to be in the middle of, right? And actually, every fight I had that night was a top 10 fight.
It was awesome
as a ref. Right?
Yeah, great fight.
And and it's just, you never want to be the bad ref, right?
Yep.
But you don't want to be the ref that didn't stop the fight when it should have been stopped. Right. So that was my thought process, and that's always my thought process. It's like, I felt he was in danger of being hurt more. I felt I had to stop it. Right. So whether he was perfectly fine to keep fighting is beside the fact, right?
Yeah, I understand.
At that particular moment when I stopped the fight, I felt he was in danger, and I felt if I wouldn't have stopped it, even if the fights were coming, or even if the elbows were coming in illegally, it's like all it takes is the one wrong one to hit the spine or whatever, right?
Sure.
It's like, and I just didn't want that to happen. Right?
I got you.
So, and then just according to the rules, following the rules, I had to stop the fight as the rules stated, right?
So, the follow-up question I for sure would get would be, well, since there was an illegal elbow to the back of the head, why wasn't there a foul called?
Because at that point, I had already decided to stop the fight.
Gotcha.
Because as soon as he started to turtle shell and turn away, in my opinion, he's not defending himself intelligently.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yes, of course.
So turtling and covering your head as a ref, that's not an intelligent defense. That to me is
submission.
I'm in trouble.
Yes.
I'm in trouble. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yes,
so
I understand.
That's the first thing I saw.
Yep.
So maybe the one elbow that came in after that would have been an illegal elbow.
Yeah.
But the fight was stopped in my mind before that happened.
Gotcha.
Right. So my main concern was stop the fight now before there's any more damage.
Gotcha.
So I wasn't thinking, okay, I got to stop and give a warning, this and that. It's
how many were illegal? Was it? I get it. You got to make a call, and let's be real, man. Like you just said, if you're arguing with yourself, and then I know it's a terrible example. I just watched it yesterday, but kickboxer, man. You don't want to be tong poed. You know what I mean?
And there's been a few fights that I've watched where the ref didn't get in fast enough, and the fighter took like too many shots, and now all of a sudden they're knocked out unconscious, dangling over the rope.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's not acceptable.
Right. They won't be going all home tomorrow on the airplane that they booked. They'll be in the hospital. I get it, man. I really do. Have you seen the fight?
I watched it. Yeah. I actually, well, since they posted it on World Muay Thai Cup.
Yeah.
I did watch it. Yeah.
So,
and that very end of that round has been posted a few times.
Sure it has,
so
man.
I've watched it a few times, and I still think, you know what, I made the right call.
Okay, that was my question.
I stand by my decision, and I'm never going to go back on that, right? So
I gotcha.
Even though, you know, a lot of people think, well, it's premature or whatever, I still think it was the right call to make at that particular moment, right?
Awesome.
So,
okay, so good. So rewatching the fight, if you could go back, nothing would have changed.
No.
Okay, that I really think that's an important thing right there. That's awesome. Okay, good. So how about moving forward? Like, not you, obviously. We do what we do, but I mean, like, how can a fighter learn from this situation? What would be your advice as a professional referee?
Well, I mean, I tell the fighters at the beginning of every fight, protect yourself at all times. That's the number one cardinal rule as a fighter.
Yep.
Right? And I remember what fight was it? It was they've been showing it on Facebook and YouTube a lot. The one where Cedric Doumbé
Yep.
punched that guy in the side. I can't remember who that fighter was, but
I can't remember. Yeah.
everyone was so mad at Doumbé for doing that. I said he had total legal right to do that.
Groenhart, maybe? Myrtle Groenhart, was it?
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, he jumped up, kneed him in the face. I think Groenhart thought the round was over. Maybe he was ringing in his head.
Right.
But he turned his back and he walked away.
Yep.
And even though Doumbé was an unethical thing to do, like he still punched him in the side of the face. So
Yeah.
he obviously knew what he was doing, right?
Yep.
But it was the total legal move
Yep.
to do that. You never turn your back on your fighter. You never turn away.
If that was my fighter, I would have. If that was Chris McMillan, I would have screamed at him to go slap him right in the face when he's walking. I would have told him to do the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, and I remember Chad Sawyer did it to that German fighter that he fought the same night that Roy Lilly fought the German guy. The same thing can happen. Chad hit him with a knee, and he had this confused look on his face, and he just started walking away. And then Chad just unleashed on him.
Yeah,
and
all
that
right.
was the end of the fight, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, you're like people do stuff you don't know why, but it's like protect yourself at all time,
Yeah.
no matter what's happening. Even if the bell went, don't drop your guard because you never know when a guy's gonna fire just a
Protect
wayward
yourself at
shot,
all
right?
times.
You never know. Right?
Yeah. For sure.
So.
Good, man. Well, there you go. I mean, I appreciate that. I think this is a great discussion, man. Between the stakes were high, and I get it, man. Like it's so easy to just be a fight fan, and that guy, that ref. It's easy to do that, but I can tell you too, man. Like I'm not in there. I'm not the one deciding with people's fate, really. Safety. And I'm nervous commentating, man. When you see people like, oh man, it's gonna kick off. Like it's a tough position to be in. And let's be real, being a referee is thankless. That is a thankless job, man.
It can be. But I mean, it's rewarding when you're walking out of a venue and people are like, good job, ref.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah.
Right? But no one said that on this fight card, though. Right? But no one approached me after that.
Right. Well, and it's just, yeah, man. It feels like maybe it feels like a tough position to be in, but
it is. I mean, is
it? I'm just curious. Like I don't know. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel about this whole thing on the other end of this? Let's be real. I'm just curious.
I mean, it's exciting to be at the ref. Like it really is to be the third man in there and be trusted to, do the right thing with two lives. Right, you're in there, and it's like, and being a fighter myself, I feel every shot that those guys land on each other. It's
Sure.
like I can't remember what ref it is, the boxing ref, but he's just so you know which one I'm talking about. His eyes are like this big.
Yeah.
And I find myself, I have to contain, like when I see a guy take a good shot to the liver, I'm like, damn, that's gotta fucking hurt, man.
Right.
Or when a guy like eats a leg kick, I'm like, dude, check those things, man. I'm saying to myself, right? And it's like it's hard not to be that coach, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, it's I think when you're in the heat of the fight, you're just there.
Yep.
Like you don't have time to think about anything except what you're doing at that particular moment,
Right.
which is nice, right? So, but I mean, it's when you have to make that tough call, or it's when you have a guy out in the crowd yelling at you while you're trying to ref.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
We had a problem with like I had an issue with one of the corner men.
At the semis, I remember.
Right, and I have to tell him to shut up, right? And then I remember I was at one of Albert Hahn's fight card, and there was some drunk guy out in the crowd yelling at me, like, let him do this. I'm like, and I told him, shut the hell up, man. Right in the middle of the round, shut the hell up. And I pointed at him, and kind of shut up, right? So, but it was like, you have to deal with stuff like that, right? So, but, and it's usually people that just, either they don't understand the rules, or they just, they just have a different attitude about fighting, watching fights. They don't understand that these are two guys that are simply there testing themselves against one another.
Right.
They're not trying to maliciously hurt each other.
Right.
Right. They're there to,
I got some goals and you're in the way. You got the same goals.
Yeah. So we're going to beat the crap out of each other for 6 minutes, and then we're going to go have a beer after. Right?
There you go. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh man, I lost it. Okay. Well, it'll come back to me. In the meantime, I asked my questions, man. I got straight answers. Is there anything else you'd like to address about that fight or the result or anything like that?
Not really. I just hope that everyone understands that I'm only trying to do the best job I can. Right.
Sure.
And that I have nothing against any particular fighter ever.
Wait. You didn't go in there and be like, you know what, I'm going to fuck this guy over. You didn't do that?
Not at all. Right. So it's like,
I understand.
And it's hard, like, to be that guy sometimes.
Sure.
If you make a call, like, even if you made the right call, people bitch at you for it. Right?
Right.
If you make a bad call,
right,
then everyone's going to hear about it.
Have you ever, just out of curiosity, because I know you can't go back on it, have you ever made a call where, let's call it a bad call, and you've been like, shit, sorry. Like, I mean, we're human. People make errors, right? Can you recall that?
I don't have anyone that I can...
Specific time?
There's been moments when I've been in, like, I don't really know what to call here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see. Like,
sure.
So sometimes, a guy will claim he got nutted, right? And I'm like, well, I didn't see it. Sorry, keep fighting.
Right.
Right. And if I don't see it, I can't call it.
Right.
And I mean, with the experience of being a fighter, like, when someone gets nutted, they grab their nuts. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, if I see where they grab, right? So if they grab their stomach, okay, you didn't get nutted. You got a good body shot.
Gut, yeah.
And you're just trying to pull off, right?
Yep.
There was one I remember a little while back, a guy got cut, and I had my back and I was going to stop them, but the guy lunged over and he had the guy bent over the ropes, and it was an elbow that came, but I didn't see what had happened.
Right.
So I couldn't tell if it was a headbutt or an elbow, but all I saw was the elbow go up, and then it was a bad cut, and then there was just a bunch of confusion after that, right?
Sure. Yeah, you're in the fray of that, and like, I wonder if, like, I know we think we know that, but you can only call what you see, right? I can't, maybe you're yelling, maybe you saw it, but that wasn't, like, I totally get it. Just, you can't call things on an assumption. You call them as you see them. If anything, that should keep it somewhat easier. I can only call what I can see, right? Not what I see.
And if anything, what happens if there's an unexplained, like, a reason for a fighter feeling injured or something like that, I'll stop the fight, and then I'll go to the officials. Did you see what happened?
Right.
And if they can tell me, they'll say, "Oh, this is what happened." Then I can make the call according to that.
Gotcha.
That's why we have a group of guys sitting around the table. They all have different views,
Right.
right? So if I didn't see it, but there's a fighter clearly complaining about something, okay, then I'll stop it for a sec, and then I'll say, "Did you guys see anything?" If they say, "No, we didn't see anything," then I'll start the fight back up immediately. And if they saw something, then I'll go on that.
Okay. Right? So, cool. Can you recall? I always just say top three because those are the freshest. But can you recall just three, for any reason, just the three most crazy fights, good fights, whatever fights that you've refereed off the top of your head, where you're like, man, I remember that one, or
Well, the Waslick fight.
Yeah.
The Irishman. That was just insane.
Yeah.
Those are two guys that were in there beating the crap out of each other and enjoying it.
Right.
It was like they were having
competing
so much
hard.
fun. And just the way that,
a little bit of smacking after their bell, but all positive, right?
Yeah, but the way, like, especially when the Irishman would dump win, and he would just get up and get right in the guy's face. That was a good one, man. That was a good one. I'm going to get you back on that, right? It's like it was so good.
Boys, yeah, love it.
So good. And then it's also nice to see, like, and Jake Peacock's fights too. Ooh. I mean, his are always
madness,
like lightning, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm always just so impressed by that guy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just blows me away that he's, that adversity is no adversity for him.
No joke. Yep.
So
exactly.
It's like you cannot take that guy for granted ever.
And shows up every night, man.
Yeah.
Like, he shows up.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I give him total props for his performance.
Nice.
Like,
yeah. Shout out to Jake.
I've had the chance to ref. I think I've reffed 3 or 4 of his fights.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. Give me your top 3 favorite fighters of all time, and why.
Top 3 favorite fighters of all time. I'd have to say Buakaw.
Yep.
Because he's the one that really put Muay Thai on the map.
Trailblazer. This era.
And, like, the way that guy kicks is still, like, I mean, there's some good Thais that have some really good kicks. I mean, but he was one of the guys that kind of stood out
Change the rules of K1.
Exactly, right? So, Vasily Lomachenko.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah. I love to study that guy, the way he moves, the way he boxes.
It's amazing. Right? It's amazing.
Then I'd have to say Anderson Silva.
Nice.
Like for UFC. Like, no one had the, just the performances that the guy had.
Yep.
And his attitude, right?
Yep.
So he always remained humble.
Yes.
Like, it really bothers me the way some of these top champions they're just jerks.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like you want to appreciate them for their skill, but you don't like them as.
Yeah, it's hard to be a fight fan when you're like that.
As a person, right?
That's right.
So, I mean, I like guy I can always talk about is Floyd Mayweather, right? I mean, you got to give the guy props for skills, but I don't give him props as a fighter.
Yep.
Because in my opinion, he protected his record.
For sure.
He ran from the fighters that he knew could beat him at that particular time.
Right.
Like he fought Canelo before his prime.
Yep.
He fought Manny after he had a knockout.
Yep.
Right. So all the guys that he fought and beat that probably could have beat him if he would have fought him at a different time.
That's
he
right.
would have gotten beat.
Oh yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a good businessman.
Sure.
But I mean, as a champion, I always see you have to be a champion in and out of the ring.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
so
I hear you, man.
And for me, so those are my top favorite fighters.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any sort of top fights you can recall, like top favorite fights of all time at all, or any that really stand out in your mind?
Any one of the K1 Max fights, those
they were
fights,
so good. Eh?
Like those rivalries, like Andy Sauer and like Buakaw and Masato, probably those two guys when they went at it. Yeah, I mean, I just
legendary.
Probably one of the best moments, when they called a draw.
Right.
And Masato and Buakaw's first fight, and Buakaw's look on his face was what the. And Masato's like, his look was off.
No.
it was classic, right? And you knew that he was just going to take another 3 minutes of getting the crap beat out of him.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah. But I think that was the fight that made me a Buakaw fan.
Yeah.
Right?
No joke.
And then there was also a really good fight of Buakaw and Andrew Kiel.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Enrico.
Yeah.
That's right.
They had a few really good fights.
That's right. Yep.
And but yeah, just anything that Buakaw fought in was probably I remember all those fights.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, legend.
And then the Rod Tang Superlek fight was just off.
That's awesome.
Crazy, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Anytime when you see the true really good ties go at it, you really realize how good the ties are.
Well, and you tend to watch more of an art than a fight. You get to look at it properly. That's kind of how I see it, right? You get to witness Muay Thai properly. Any sponsors? Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we're out of here?
Well, you for one thing.
Thanks.
I mean,
thank
you for having me here, and it's always good to listen. And it's nice that to see we've grown up together in this art, and it's a very small community, right? So, just want to thank anyone who has anything to do with any of the fight events, because, I mean, without them, the fights wouldn't be what they are today.
Yeah, it's a massive team to have it happen.
And giving a really good shout out to Kieran Kettle too, because that guy's really done really amazing things, and I think he was part of the reason why I decided when I decided to make a change in training camp to go with Elite.
Yeah.
Because I've seen what he was doing with the sport. He's helping it grow a lot. There's definite future there. So that was kind of, and then I sat down with him and Francois and talked with them, and it just seemed like a really good fit.
Yeah, he wants everyone to join us. Right? Oh, come on, let's do it.
Yeah. So I'd have to definitely give a shout out to those guys, because
nice.
They're
good dudes.
And you see all these other fight clubs now, they're really starting to put out some really good fighters.
Yeah.
Like Dunamis is doing an amazing job with their fighters.
You bet.
Alberhan's doing a really good job he's got some really good guys in there, right?
Yeah, you're starting to see fight teams again, right? Yeah.
And then you're starting to see some really good quality Muay Thai.
Yep.
So that to me says, everyone's doing the right thing,
which
is good. Because when you can bring these guys together and they're having really good fights, and it's not lopsided, but you got two guys that are just going toe to toe, and they're just giving as good as they get.
That's it.
That's what real Muay Thai is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. In the same city rivals. Yeah, it's crazy. So. It's crazy. And I just love being part of the community. Like at fight events, I know I like commentating, but it's like seeing everybody, Yeah,
it's amazing because you see, I see people that I've known for 30 years, right?
Right.
And then people come up to you, and I remember I was reffing a fight at one of Bellegarde's place, and Anthony Palumbo.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I reffed him in a continuous tournament when he was probably 8 years old. And I remember think, man, this kid's awesome. Like, he's going to be a champion one day. And I told his dad that.
Yeah.
I said, this kid's going to be a champion one day. You watch. And then he'd come up to me, and I didn't recognize that Anthony was the same
Anthony,
boy.
right.
He's like, do you remember me when you said to that guy, you said that guy's going to be a champion one day? He's like, you said that about him. I'm like, wow. It's like, nice. So it's neat to see that kind of stuff.
It is, hey.
And guys that you know,
the generations coming up.
Yeah, and the guys that you trained when they were kids, and then they grew up and they still remember you, right? And
yeah.
Like there was a guy, Shea Erickson. I don't know if you know who Shea Erickson
is.
Yeah,
you bet.
But I taught him when he was like 11, 12.
Oh, yeah?
And then he just kind of disappeared for a while.
Yeah.
And now he's big-time jiu-jitsu guy.
Right.
And he comes up to me, and he's like this monster of a dude, shaved head. He's like, hey, Jordan, how are you? I'm like, and I looked at him, I was like, your face looks familiar, but I can't. He's like, it's Shea. I'm like, no way. And then I remember I did some jiu-jitsu with me. Josh folded me up like a pretzel. And he's like, finally, I get my revenge on that guy. Right. So.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny. Hey, it's I really like the community, and it's a big. I didn't know I did, to be honest, until I started the podcast. So, man, I just like all this all together, man. So what a great community we have here. Yeah. If you could give one single shout out to one person, no disrespect to anybody else, but a special one, who would it be?
I'm going to say Mike Miles.
Mike Miles.
Mike Miles. I mean, if it wasn't for him, who knows where I'd be today, right? I mean,
who knows where any of us would really be around here if you've been around a while.
You got to give it out to that guy because, I mean, he was a true pioneer of Muay Thai in Canada. And, you know,
here.
And I wouldn't have the skill set that I have without that guy, right? So, I mean, he took me through my career, taught me all my fight skills, put me through some hell in the ring. Like, I remember, you know, if you were the first guy holding pads with the Jordan Miles, it was going to be a rough day.
Right? Next time, be second.
Right? So, or third or fourth. And I was lucky. I was always the fifth guy usually, right? So, you know, but no, I have to give it to him because, I mean, without that, the knowledge that man passed on to me, I wouldn't be able to pass it on to all the other people. Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. On that same subject, real quick before we get out of here, I eventually want Jason Fenton on here. We tried once, it didn't work, but I'll try again. So kickboxer, I watched Kickboxer, Van Damme, right, whatever, and I thought, you know, Muay Thai was this. I started with Bloodsport. I'll try to go as fast as I can here. I started with Bloodsport. I saw Van Damme in Kickboxer, and I was like, no, he was being treated like a second-place guy at the beginning of the movie to Dennis Alexia, and I'm like, no, back to Bloodsport. Anyway, I went back to Kickboxer, and, you know, the secret thing, crazier than Frank Dukes, whatever. Anyway, thought it was fun, great movie. I was a Van Damme dork like crazy. I hear there's kickboxing downtown during activity week for junior high school, so I go down there. And what do I see? I see Fenton. At the time, I didn't know who he was, but I recognized the goofy writing on the shorts, and I was like, oh, holy shit, this is real. Like, it's real. And I just, like, it was that day, man. I was just absolutely hooked. Mike Miles downtown.
Yeah.
And the day I found out it was real, like I remember Jason was wearing black shorts, pink, you know, Muay Thai and Thai writing.
Always pink.
Yeah.
Always pink. I mean, he dyed his hair pink.
Yeah, that's right. All right, man. Anything before we're out of here?
No, I hope that this podcast served its purpose, and I'm so glad to be here finally. And let's do it again sometime for sure.
Open invite, man. And I keep telling that to people, like just send. It's weird. People always just like, hey, we should do a podcast as we're like in the grocery store. I'm like, yeah, great. Like, so what? Like, it's simple. Like to be honest, you contact me. Hey, can we do this? Sure. And it just becomes what day of the week works. This. All right. Like, so any time, man. You're always welcome on, and anytime to talk, just any fights, old school fights. I know you're a golden era guy, so we can easily come back and do that too.
Yeah, it'd be cool just to sit and watch some old stuff and just call them out. Cool.
Han, Combat Fighting Channel, help us out. I don't know how to do that, but I know you do. All right, man. Hey, listen, I appreciate it.
Thank
you.
And
listen, like I said, I appreciate you as a man, as a referee, as a Muay Thai man, and when you're in the ring refereeing with my fighters, I know that they're going to be safe, and you explained why, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that too.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll get this out here in the next day or two. In the meantime, see you on the next one.
Peace.